last year, and I'm really glad to be here because of that. It is indeed a momentous day for a capital project designed to help strengthen much of the critical infrastructure that Douglas County residents interact with and rely on constantly. It will do that and bring more change and stability for those services for decades and generations to come. There are several hundred people whose jobs live in and revolve around the activities that happen here. There are many thousands of people's lives that have been altered because of this place. I am one of those people. I've known this place for over 30 years now, and I asked to speak today because I have a personal perspective on how much presence and impact this building has in our community. The impact that both of these places will have on our community into the future. Well-planned county infrastructure projects focus on how to better serve the public over time with better access, universal design, safety, and wayfinding as central components of it all. I'm proud to be a commissioner who helped usher those values forward in the last few planning stages that brought us to this moment. It's kind of a wild story to tell my kid self. I was 8 years old when I first came to the Judicial and Law Enforcement Center of Douglas County. Upstairs in the Old Lawrence Police Department first, and also in Judge Shepard's courtroom many times. It's a memory I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. It was tragic. A child was killed. Families were abruptly torn apart in a lot of different directions. And I came back to this place many times in the years that followed that winter for one thing or another that involved someone who I loved. I can recall moments of feeling a deep belief in and hope for justice and safety. And I can also recall plenty of moments of deep fear and distrust in what was to come as a result of new court orders. The reality is that both things, often many things, are true at once. As an advocate for other abuse survivors now, I still come to this place all the time to do my job in the hallways, offices, and courtroom benches in this building to try holding space for some of the folks in our community navigating their trauma in a very public space. While it's certainly true that not everything that happens in this building is so heavy, there are joyful moments such as weddings, adoptions, and name changes too, as well as core county functions that reside in the building like our IT team and so much more that happens right here, right now. But it's felt like an important occasion today to highlight, in fact, that indeed many life-altering things happen here for so many people all of the time. The first time I ever truly interacted with this place, in fact, would have been by making 911 calls when I was a small child. I never knew where the people were who answered the calls and sent immediate help for my mom, but I do now. They've been making the literal most of their little top floor suite up here in the corner of the third floor for a long time, and dispatching emergency first responders to folks all over the county whenever they need it, whenever they need it the most. All from up there in those tight quarters. Every day I'm so grateful for the continuity of services that Douglas County Emergency Communications Center provides to residents in our community. And I'm really proud that this project expanded to prioritize the need for more modern, weather-hardy, and secure facilities to house critical dispatch operations, services that are needed 24/7, 365 by Douglas County residents. Alongside them, emergency management will soon be able to leverage some of those same features of the new public safety building for their critical mobilization during major incidents and natural disasters that they will need to respond to in generations to come. As this project progresses, I look forward to figuring out with our Sheriff's Department also how to best plan for their future operations here, which encompass so much more than just jail and patrol. I hope that the foundational space that we are adding to our infrastructure will enhance all of their functions, security, and yes, even everybody's budgets. Part of our job as commissioners now is to help plan well well into the future for other elected officials and administrators who will serve Douglas County well after many of us here today have closed our current chapter. I believe that we've worked diligently and thoughtfully throughout this long road to groundbreaking day, and I'm glad for the progress that we're making on behalf of local residents. As we celebrate the start of building, may we all stay grounded in the many truths of what bring us here today, what brings others here day after day, and why we do the work that we do, whatever it may be. Public service comes in many forms, and it's always an honor to be in the company of so many who do that work every day. So thank you. As a quick matter of fact, for us all to remember today, this project will be disruptive, quite obviously. And it will include different degrees of sacrifice from everybody over time. And still, I believe that it's a necessary project for our community, one that I hope advances critical infrastructure in meaningful ways for the public that we all serve. So thank you in advance for helping folks navigate these changes with grace and patience as we all move through the phases of construction in the months and years to come. And thank you very much for coming out today, for adjusting your calendar if you had to, and for gathering out here in this lovely warm day of this winter so far to reflect with me on the reality of how places like this and people like you change people's lives every day one way or another. Thank you all. I believe Chief Judge McCabria is next, so I'll hand the mic to him.
My name is James McCabria. I'm the Chief District Court Judge here in Douglas County. I'm honored to be here representing the judges of Douglas County District Court. I started as a judge 10 years ago, and I recall at my first judges meeting, the idea of this remodel was actually on the agenda. And in all the years since, discussions of how and what was needed to serve the future needs of the community slowly coalesced into the project that we're here to commemorate today. The many meetings where we discussed this project were useful in many ways, but they also prompted me to remind myself that every day there are people coming into the Judicial Center who are having their first time experience. And whether they're dealing with issues that will have life-changing impacts for them, or to fulfill jury duty, or to just watch and see how a case resolves itself about something they're interested in. What they encounter when they walk into this building creates their first impression of the legal system and how we do what we do here. And questions like, does the space reflect to the people that come in that what happens here is important? Is it organized with a sense of priority and importance? Is the space open to all, or does it create barriers for some? Do people feel safe? Do they feel rushed? And the other side of that coin is the processes that happen in this building for the people who work here each day. Is the design convey to a clerk or a probation officer that the work that they're doing is important, that they're part of a bigger picture? Do they feel protected, or does the layout distract with the thought that one's safety is being compromised? Are departments arranged in a way that serve both the public and the staff? All of these ideas and so much more were part of the process that got us here. On behalf of the court, I want to express sincere appreciation for the county commissioners, both serving now and who served during the time that these talks were happening. It was no small task. The number of agencies, offices, and departments that operate in or collaborate with the district court in this building, I think is more than many people realize. And more than once I was impressed with the thoughtful approach of commissioners who took the time to ask questions, identify needs, gain understanding of who would be impacted by what happens in this building and the process of the expansion. It is exciting to think of the day that the project will be complete, and getting to that point will have impacts, limited parking, probably some days where noise or other necessary actions affect how, when, or where we do our work. But I want to assure everybody that the parties, including the parties and their attorneys who will be appearing here, that while that work is happening, all of us, judges and staff, will work to minimize those impacts. The importance of being heard, and having cases fully considered will remain the priority. We will do our best to plan ahead and communicate, but we will also welcome input and feedback as we go through the process. So let me offer my appreciation now for the patience and understanding for those occasions when we have to make those adjustments. This expansion looks to the future, to the function and administration of the law in this county, not just today, but for future generations. It is a reflection that this court and this community recognize the value of providing a place where the intersection of law into people's lives occurs in an environment that can best support and promote the highest ideals of the judiciary for the people that it serves. So thank you all for being here today.
My name is Stacy Simmons, and I'm your Undersheriff. I'd like to first start by thanking Commissioner Shannon, Reid, Commissioner Karen Willie, Commissioner Patrick Kelly, and Sarah Plinsky for having the foresight to see this project as a necessity and for the courage amongst opposition to funding. I'd also like to thank Treanor Architecture and J.E. Dunn for the work that they've done over the past year. In the coming years on this project, this building is going to house the future of Douglas County government for years to come. I'm going to take a little bit different approach with my words today and talk about the historical context of what this building means to me, the sheriff's office and employees that have come before us. For reference, in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address. 8 years before that speech, the territorial governor of Kansas appointed and swore in the first sheriff of Douglas County to provide services to the residents of Douglas County. This building beside me, now and then, way down here, was known as the courthouse. It held one courtroom and all government services. Next to the courthouse was the sheriff's office and the jail. It's that little grassy area between these two buildings. The sheriff lived on the premises, and the wife did the laundry, fed those staying in the jail, and took care of all those basic needs. When deputies were needed, a blinking call box came up in the street. They went to that call box, they called into the sheriff's office to find out what was the problem, and then that's how they went to their calls for service. The sheriff was responsible for all emergencies, code enforcement, dispatch, anything else that came up. His job was to keep the peace and keep the jail. For decades, those two buildings stood as government service, and they held steady. At some point, the beautiful courthouse and the tiny sheriff's office could no longer provide the expected services by the citizens of the county. The city government grew. Change came, roles were redefined, space was allocated, new departments were added, and this building behind me, the Judicial and Law Enforcement Center, was constructed in the 70s to do that, and it did just that. It housed a new jail, a sheriff's office, Lawrence Municipal Court, Lawrence Police Department, records, courtrooms, dispatch, and so much more. When it opened, the sheriff's department was provided in the northwest corner of this building. The sheriff's actual office is the very corner of that building, and it's been called the corner office since the very first chair was moved in. I believe it's probably the only office in that building that's had the same occupant the entire 50 years. But inevitably, change was coming. Then Sheriff Armbruster and I both started our careers in 1998. We were hired to work at the new jail, which was opening in 1999, because on the second floor of this building housed the Douglas County Jail. It was being shut down, and space was being allocated for dispatch and emergency management, and these spaces were critical and greatly needed. Eventually, Sheriff and I made our way back through different career paths back to this building. He now sits in that corner office with my office next to his. We have the same view of those who occupied those offices before us. These windows, our windows, have a direct line of sight to the beautiful old courthouse and the grassy area that held the beginnings of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office over 170 years ago. It's humbling and difficult at the same time because we know the historic significance of this space. We feel a great sense of pride and connection to these two buildings and the citizens that have been served here. But just as the old courthouse outgrew its ability to provide necessary services to our citizens, so is this building. So starting today, change comes again. A new building, the Public Safety Building, will house the Sheriff's Office, Emergency Management Center, and Emergency Communications Centers. We will all be starting a new chapter there, a new legacy for the future generations of public safety professionals who will ensure the citizens of Douglas County residents will receive the crucial services they need and expect. It will, however, just be a little bit further down the road, sitting next to the Douglas County Correctional Facility, where the sheriff, who is still required by statute to keep peace and keep a jail, will have a new line of sight from his corner office window. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For many of you, this may be a moment that you didn't know was going to happen. For many of you, you've studied this project, this building, the spaces, what's the need, right? Those all happened many, many years ago. Today's a great moment to see your community grow, a moment to see your county take a big step in doing things that they've talked about doing. So let's talk a few minutes about how this project started and what's the vision. Because that's what's important about what's about to happen when this project is complete. The design of this project started with the idea of thinking about how do we create security, safety for all that come to this facility. How do we create space that can be used by staff, by the public, and by everyone else that wants to come to this building, that's going to make it state-of-the-art, that's going to be enjoyable, but on the same hand, provide what a courthouse is to provide. A civic nature and a place where things have to happen. Whether that's good or whether that's bad. What's that's supposed to happen? So we started that design process and we met with each user, stakeholder, and department. We sat down, we spent quality time, we understood the needs, and we understood what was important. And we created, which you will see here in about, 2 years when it's built, public circulation, staff circulation, and then custody circulation that's separate. You'll see courtrooms that will set aside the civic nature of what they need to be, and you'll also see staff spaces that bring natural daylight, that bring a sense of pride to those that spent time designing and participating and collaborating with this process. It's important to also recognize that this day doesn't happen because of one or two people. This day happens because of so many folks that spent time together collaborating. A team of, as I stated a minute ago, departments and their staff. The folks that sat, spent time looking at designs, looking at drawings, envisioning what it would be in their mind and how it would better serve not just who they are today, but the folks that will come after them and use those same spaces. How does the public come and engage and interact within this building? That was important. The commissioners, as already been stated, took a leap of faith. They took on a project and determined the importance of that project. The judges spent quality time thinking about what it is in their mind the courtrooms and the spaces within this building need to be not just for today, but for tomorrow. The building behind me was finished and completed in the early 70s. It's 50 years old. The building that we've designed is designed to be that and more. The building behind us will stand again for another 50 years plus. That's what's important about what we're about to do today when we start this process. I want to thank a few folks, and then I'm going to be done, but I do want to thank the commissioners, the judges, each of the departments, and their staff. The time that they took, because it's their time, to make this project what it is. I want to thank our design team consultants who spent days and nights putting this project together. And I also want to thank J.E. Dunn and their staff and the work and the effort that they started and the work and the effort that they're going to finish here over the next 2 to 3 years. Thank you.
Well, my name's Tim Ockinga. I represent J.E. Dunn Construction, and I also represent, I'm honored to represent all the men and women that are going to have the pleasure of building this project. We are all excited for this transformational project. It really is just that. You know, at J.E. Dunn, we like to pride ourselves in being community builders. And what that means is we want to build projects that will have the lasting impact that we've heard up here from all of the speakers before. We want to be a part of those projects that impact the places that we live, work, and play in. And I really can't think of a project that exemplifies those qualities more than this project. Soon we will be starting this Monday. And right off the bat, I want to thank all of the people that are going to be working around us in this occupied building in the neighborhood on Mass Street. We will do our best to minimize any disruptions, but we appreciate your patience as building a project as monumental as this. It takes a task, it takes a village, and so thank you for your patience. We will be starting earthwork. The earthwork machines, the excavators, the backhoes, they will be starting this winter, preparing the ground for this building to rise. The cranes, they will arrive this fall, or this summer, to hoist the beams into the sky. And then this coming fall and winter, we'll start installing windows that face west to historic South Park over here, so that all of the city can enjoy this beautiful designed building for decades to come. I want to thank the commissioners for the bold vision that they had for this project, the steadfast commitment they had to making it happen. I want to thank Sarah, Jay, and Jimmy specifically for their leadership, for getting us here today for this groundbreaking. And then finally, I want to thank Jeff and Treanor and their team. We are true partners, the architect and construction manager, and we've done this many times before, and I want to thank you for your continued partnership, that we can take this idea of a project and make it into a reality. With that, I think right now we will do the groundbreaking, so those that are supposed to come up here, let's do this.
All right, everyone, look this way. Just kind of stay there for a few moments. We'll snap away.